and that's what happens with technology. Doris, hi, how are you? I'm glad you could. At least I'm glad somebody got to say got to see me. You're watching on Facebook, am I right, Doris? Um, because I've got both Facebook and YardStream or StreamYard running, so hopefully you are watching me on either on Facebook. It looks like Facebook because it shows Facebook, Doris. I just want to make sure that I am live on Facebook, and it's showing that I am, but that I can never tell because of the way Facebook is. Let's see if there's anybody else here. Let's keep going. Tonight's topic, I got to tell you, before we be going too far, I just want everybody to know that tonight's topic is still about the election, and there's a lot of things that are going on. Um, and I'm still waiting for more people to come on, Doris. I appreciate your being part of the show tonight because we've got some news that maybe some of you are aware of, maybe you're not, because it just happened today. And I'm hoping that more people will join, more people will say aye. My commentary is going to be very very brief. Uh, and Doris says you're on Facebook. Okay, thank you, Doris. I appreciate it. That really helps a lot. I see another viewer is on, so I know that I'm on Facebook, which is important. That's the important thing. I want to make sure that my mic is working good. If it sounds good, just tell me. If it sounds to me, whenever I listen to it, I have to tell you, sounds like I'm having some issues with my mic, like it's sort of hollow or whatever the case is. There's another person that's joined the show. Good, thank you. Um, but tonight this is important, people, because I tell you what, there's so much happened just in today alone about the election and what's going on as far as the 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 legal team. And I think if you're not aware of it, you're going to be aware of it very quickly. But to kind of bring everybody up to date, the basic things is what's happening is that you know the left has unsuccessfully tried to remove Trump from office for the last 4 years. So now he is charged. He's challenging. That's obvious. Um, the states that are really involved are uh, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada. Of course, Georgia just made their decision yesterday, but they're still going to do another recount. I'm not sure how they're going to do that. So Philly, in the states, the cities that are involved right now are Philly and Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania, Detroit, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. And these are cities that have used software and the Stratomatic and the Dominion machines. They've used the software and the machines that have been able to flip the votes. And here's what's happened. To give you just an example, in Michigan, they dropped 138 votes for Biden. They dumped, I should say, 138 votes for Biden in the middle of the night, and not one vote for Donald Trump. Now, I know people are coming and going because they don't either like to hear what I'm saying or whatever, and that's okay. If you don't like what I'm saying, that's your privilege and you're right. But I'm just telling you what's happened. I'm telling you what's going on, and so this is I'm just bringing you up to date because there is something that is happening that's not that just doesn't make sense. It's not adding up. It is adding up in my mind as something on that is fraud. Okay. Uh, Now, as I told you the last show that the software and the Dominion machine definitely it has been involved, and in the past it's even been involved because even Elizabeth Warren and I can't remember right off the top of my head. also said the same thing, and they warned the Democrat Party because it's happened. It happened in both sides. In fact, it happened with Clinton against Bernie Sanders, and he was told about it. So it was working on both sides back then. So is there any doubt? Is there any doubt in your mind why the left or the Democrats stopped the count of these machines as to what the percentages were? Why did they, how could they, these states at almost the identical same time stop the vote count, and then at almost the same time start the vote count back up? Now, let me explain something to you. And when they stopped the vote count, Pennsylvania had Biden at 18%, excuse me, 41.8%, and Trump at 57%. So Trump was leading in Pennsylvania. In Georgia, Biden had 45.8%. Trump had 53.1%. In Michigan, Biden had 44.4%. Michigan had, or Trump had 4%, or 54%. And in Wisconsin, Biden had 46.8%, and Trump was at 51.7%. That was probably the closest race. And then that's when they stopped counting. And then suddenly the vote got flipped as soon as they went back to counting. And there was some cases where there was not one vote for Trump, and there were thousands of votes for Biden. Now, again, I know the people are coming and going because you think you have heard everything. Well, you haven't heard everything. So I hope that you will share this video. If Doris, if you're still on, or whoever is on, I'm hoping that you will share this video because of the fact this is news that I'm very I have to tell you, it's breaking news. As you've seen on TV, the person that has been up front has been Sidney Powell. She's been, along with Rudy Giuliani. Today it was announced Sidney Powell is no longer at all connected with the Trump legal team. And in fact, the fact is that she even came out on CBS and said she's going to fight for we the people. For we the people. So she's not a part of the legal team. Now, because I think what's happened is they want to kind of distance the fact that she is using the Dominion software. And also, let me see. Doris said, I already shared the video. Thank you, Doris. I really appreciate that so much. I really don't expect a lot of people tonight because it's, there's a lot of things going on in their families with the upcoming holiday of Thanksgiving. And, a lot of people are going to start traveling soon. A lot of people still have work to do before then. Regardless, the fact of the matter is, I'm going to read you something that Jenna Ellis is the Trump legal advisor. She said that Powell is actually basically what they're concerned about. I'm just going to make it simple. Nyland, how are you? I'm glad you could make it. Oh my gosh, all the way from the Philippines. This is important because this election, as I've said before in the past, is going to affect the entire world, no matter how it turns out. And with Joe Biden, we've got an issue here that he is now being pulled. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, and I don't mean to. AOC and the squad, which I warned you about before. AOC and the squad have already said, you owe us. We got you elected. And she has come out publicly, and so has Tlaib from, I think she's from Michigan, has come out publicly and stated, we put Biden in the as winning the election. Black Lives Matter says, you owe us. We put you there. We are the one that got this handle for you. Bernie Sanders says, you owe me. So Joe Biden, if he is officially, when this is all said and done, if Joe Biden is the president and Kamala Harris is the vice president, your country, ladies and gentlemen, unless Georgia's Senate race, and it goes all the way back to that now, if the Georgia Senate race does not go Republican, they better be careful about, watch that one carefully, because if they use these same machines to do the voting, then the Democrats will probably end up winning. Because I tell you what, these machines have the ability to flip votes. They've proven it. They've shown it. It's happened to, matter of fact, someone in Venezuela, even and that was part of this when Chavez was in Venezuela. My gosh, was part of it. Said this is how they turn the vote. This is how it's done. Now I'm very serious about this. This is not a game. This is the future of America. This is the future of the United States. This is the future of maybe the rest of the world, because what's going to happen is United States will become a communistic socialist country, one or the other. They'll start with socialism and run into communism. Now, you don't have to believe that. You can tell me I'm a conspiratorialist. I don't care. I'm telling you what will happen if AOC, Bernie Sanders, the squad, Black Lives Matter, and the rest of the Democrats that probably don't even have a clue who they are, some of them that voted I'm talking about, they don't get it. But let me tell you, it's going to affect everybody. Now, not all Democrats. I'm going to tell you what, there were Democrats that voted for Donald Trump that did, then their vote got tossed out. I mean, I wrote some notes. I didn't make a lot of papers. Right now, most of what I'm doing is commentary. Most of what I'm doing is commentary. So bear with me. I'm not going to sit and bore you all night. If we don't have a lot of viewers, or if we don't have a lot of comments, I understand. And the main thing I'm going to look at tonight is I want you to just understand what happened today and what's happening right now as far as this as far as lawsuits are concerned. The Trump legal team does not want a bunch of conspiracy theories going out there. They want the proof, they want the evidence, and evidence that would allow them to get into court. Now, already Pennsylvania got rejected by the legal team because of Obama appointed liberal judge. He says this does not have anything to do. This is not a constitutional issue. As far as he's concerned, the election is what it is in Georgia, or in Pennsylvania, excuse me. That will be contested. That will be. They're already filing appeals for that. So that's going to happen. There's not going to be any there's not going to be any type of information that we're going to have, because for a while, because of the fact court lawsuits take time. And if these are civil lawsuits, they're still going to have to, when they go to court, they're still going to have to have evidence, but they don't want conspiracy thoughts handled. So that's why Sidney Powell, who was kind of leading the charge along with Giuliani, is no longer, and she is not a part of the Trump legal team. So if you see and understand what I'm saying, and you saw that Sidney Powell, who has been the front spokesperson for the Trump legal team, along with Giuliani, excuse me, Now that's changed. But she's going to continue her fight for we the people, for the people themselves, because she wants the right answers. She wants the people to have a fair vote. She wants the selection to be fair vote. And Donald Trump wants to get to the bottom of it for a fair vote, and he should. He has that right. I mean, when you're talking about when George W. Bush was elected, it took him 45 days for one state. So why are everybody all up in the air because it's taking? They say it's taking so long. The Democrats want Trump to concede. That's crazy. So many states haven't even been certified yet. I mean, this. Share this video, please, because I'm telling you right now, I'm not just rattling at the mouth. I'm telling you what's happening. I'm telling you what's going on. Powell told CBS tonight that she was working for the people because of the fact that the Dominion machines and the Smartmatic software, okay? And she is promising what she calls biblical lawsuits that are coming in days. Biblical lawsuits, which I'm not sure what she meant by that. Unless it's the proportion, it's the size of the lawsuit, which could be. The size of the lawsuit is what Sidney Powell may be talking about when she says it's a biblical lawsuit. Now, again, like I said, I know people are coming and going, and that's okay, because maybe you're not interested in what I'm talking about. Maybe you don't care, but that the election is important. These states that are being contested are actually being contested for a reason. The fact that the machine stopped, the state stopped counting at a certain time, almost all the same time, at the end of the election, and then went back almost at the same time the next morning with these same Dominion machines and the Smartmatic software. And all of a sudden, the votes had flipped totally, where Donald Trump even lost as much as 700,000 votes overnight. Come on, somebody, I know I've only got just a couple of viewers right now, but make a comment. Let me know what you think, because I'm telling you, this is not. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you something. 35,000 votes were added to listen to this, every Democrat candidate to start with. Now, it happened in one state, probably happened in others, or possibly could have happened in others. If 35,000 votes, example, Michigan, I can tell you right now, the young man that in Michigan, he lost his chance to be a U.S. senator because of those 35,000 votes. Now, if it happened in one state, why wouldn't it have happened in all the other states that are being contested right now? That they flipped them. Now, Warren, okay, this is who I'm talking about. Warren and Klobuchar had warned about the Dominion switching votes in 2018. Nothing was done. Nothing was done. Now, they are Democrats. Elizabeth Warren is a Democrat. And so is Klobuchar. So why, if these machines, as a matter of fact, these machines go back farther than that, but why, if the Democrats, like Elizabeth Warren, who was very outspoken, if she and Klobuchar both said that Dominion software or machines and the software that's being used will flip votes and it's not safe to use in their own party, why is all of a sudden, and I'm going to say like I feel, you have Donald Trump, who's out there getting campaign after campaign after campaign and getting thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, 30, 40, 20, 10,000. Well, Joe Biden sits in the basement, does not go out and campaign. Kamala Harris does not go out and campaign. people hardly even saw any ads for either one of them, and all of a sudden they have 80 million or 180 million votes. And Donald Trump, a sitting president, has 174, 175 million votes, the most of any sitting president. And you're going to tell me something isn't fishy? Something isn't wrong? I'm telling you right now. When I've said before that something is not right, I can see why Sidney Powell is looking like she's having a conspiracy theory, and the Trump legal team wants her off of there so that it doesn't affect them, their investigation or their lawsuits or whatever the case might be. I understand that. But she's making sense for the people that she is representing, the we the people, and the we the people are you and me and even the Democrats, because the future of any election depends upon what happens on this one. You please understand this. The future of any election in this country depends on what happens in this election. It's listen, even Lin Wood, on Twitter, has a video of a shedding truck outside the accounting center. Lin Wood is one of Trump's legal advisors, or on Trump's legal team. He's got the video on Twitter. I've seen it. I've seen the video where the Trump is where they just throw ballots or envelopes and everything else all in this shredding machine. Look, the future of this country depends upon how this election turns out. The future of this country depends upon how it continues to go on. Will the Supreme Court end up with it? Who's going to end up with this? Who's going to make the decision that all these states that their count was Trump was way ahead, and then when they stopped counting until the next day, and and counting votes that were postmarked late, suddenly the next day when the machines got cranked back up, Trump is losing. And he's got 10 million more votes this time than he did even against Hillary Clinton. So I'm suggesting possibly, because Hillary Clinton has never gotten over this, I'm saying that possibly she's behind part of this as well. I can't prove that, but that's my opinion. How's that? I'll make my opinion. Jason Meyer, hey, I'm glad you could make it, buddy. Let me see. Part of what the Kraken Linwood. Okay. I think I got you laugh out loud. He said, "Hey Neil, I'm glad you could join, though, Doug or Jason. But here's the thing. Here's what's happened. Here's what's happened, people. You better really think about this. Is this a coincidence that Dominion and Smartmatic at work with these votes being flipped? Is this just a coincidence that in all these states that are being contested, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Nevada, Arizona, is it just coincidence that is taking, look, when states can all of a sudden flip so fast, and the fact that there is machines that are being used, and I think at least 30 states, use these machines. Now, does that mean that they all became corrupt? I don't know. The main ones they're contesting are the swing states, and of course Georgia, which is primarily a Republican state, and all of a sudden it's flipped on Donald Trump, who really has helped Georgia, and Georgia has a Republican governor and Secretary of State, as far as I know. is also Republican. I would think so. This isn't just an election fraud. It goes further. It's an election. Oh, it's election official fraud. Good point, Jason. No, really, that's a good point. It is. It is an election official fraud because you've got officials that have been elected and possibly, I don't know, maybe have they been paid off? What about the videos of the affidavits of people who were supposed to be counting votes were trained like in Wayne County? These are signed, sworn affidavits that are very legal in court, that they were trained to show how to flip them. How is it possible? How is it possible that a vote can have just Biden and no one else, no other Democrat, no Republican, nobody else? You're going to tell me that the people that voted for Biden did not vote for a Democrat representative or a Democrat senator or whatever the case might be? I'm not buying it. When you see that downline and nobody else has voted, but except for Biden, and these, I'm talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands of votes for Biden with only his name and no other Democrat on there. Now that doesn't even make sense, even to me. And I'm not even a lawyer or an expert. Van Dan, hey, Van Dan, send us a link. I don't know what it is because I can't tell. It's hard to read it, but I'll check it out. Van Dan has never been on our show, but I welcome you if you're watching. Look, was any of this? Do you think for 1 minute? Do you think for 1 minute that this election, with all of the states that are being contested with these same machines and the same software and the same type of flips that just happened by chance? Do you think that that's just, oh, it just happened? Yep, Joe Biden just happened to get all those votes. Overnight, Trump lost 700,000 lead in Pennsylvania, which is nearly impossible. And even if you're a Democrat, you better be concerned about this because I'm going to tell you, future elections depend upon this. I already told you Elizabeth Warren and Klobuchar warned the Democrats that these machines and this software are not safe to use. There's too much of a possibility. There's too much of a possibility of fraud. Now, coming from Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar, I can understand the Democrats should have listened, but they didn't. They didn't listen. Van says, thank you. Well, Van, you're very welcome. I appreciate it. Let me see. He goes on to say, and we must accept let's see, we must accept this seal. Is that what that says? This steel. I think that Van, you're here, I think, for the first time. I just wanted to let you know that the print on StreamYard is a light gray and it goes into white screen. So that's the reason I have a hard time sometimes making out what you say. But I think that's what you said. We have to accept this deal. What I'm mainly more concerned about in this situation is getting it right, no matter who it is. I mean, if Biden ends up being the president and Kamala Harris is the vice president, you're going to find less Republicans flaring up or having an issue with this, as long as they don't lose the Senate. That doesn't mean that you might have some far right wing, wild, crazy people that might go crazy, which I don't want to see happen. Van says he's sorry. No, don't be sorry. This has happened. My point being is there's an election here that something has to come out without the Senate, the Republicans If they don't win it, and the runoff turns out that the Democrats win Georgia, United States of America will never be the same. We may never even have another election as we know it. Joe Biden will not be your president within a short period of time, and that short period of time is, I'm talking maybe 6 months to a year. I'm guessing, I'm using my own analogy of this. I've said this in the past. I don't mean to repeat it to those of you who heard it. But Kamala Harris will be your president, and she is right alongside with AOC, Bernie Harris, BLM, who are admitted Marxists. Okay, they were trained Marxists. Go look it up. The three women that started Black Lives Matter. I'm not talking about a Black Lives Matter movement, not at all. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about Black Lives Matter as was started by the three women that are admitted Marxists and admitted community organizers. And what do you think we have going on in this election? Because as I said earlier, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did not even go out and campaign. Rarely did you see them. The only thing you saw was Joe Biden in the basement or wherever they call it, sending out some videos. And where did all of this money come from? Where did the Dominion and the Smartmatic and all this come from? How did the flips happen? Who paid off who? If any of that was done, I'll tell you right now, it was George Soros. That is my own opinion, and I'm going to stick with it. It would be George Soros because he and AOC and the squad and Bernie Harris and they're all in on this. You don't fall for it. This is like the same thing as communism. If you fall for the communistic lies, pretty soon you start following the communistic lies. And George Soros, no, I don't have the proof, but he's the one person that hates this country that's got the money that can finance everything he's done. He financing everything from riots to the election. And could Hillary Clinton be behind it? I'm telling you, yes, she could. That's my opinion. Okay, that's my opinion. Let me go back up and start here and read what because I don't want to miss anybody. I think Jason has something to say, and I want to make sure that I get it. And then Van has something to say, and I want to get to that. First of all, Jason says there is a pattern with those Democrats, with the Democratic or Dominion, software systems. It was calculated. Yes, it was calculated. And in Detroit, the CEO of Dominion is overlooking everything. I heard that also, with a massive voter and the officials and with the massive voters and officials. Okay, I got what you're saying. Trump and the military are watching real time, and this is what Sidney Powell said. Yes, and remember I told you just earlier, Sidney Powell is no longer part of the Trump legal team, Jason. It was announced today because of the fact they said that there were concerns about too much conspiracy thinking that she was putting out. Yet she says that she told CBS tonight or earlier this evening or whenever it was that she's going to come out with some biblical type of information. Now, I don't know if that means a broad portion of information. I don't know if that means what she's referring to, but she's used that term a couple times. So that's what she's planning on coming out with, yet in a few days, she's hoping. So she must know something, but yet the Trump administration legal team does not want to have people thinking that she is spreading conspiracies, because so far they said that she has not given the evidence. Well, she's not going to give evidence publicly, and if she hasn't given the evidence to her legal team, I can understand why they want to separate the ways, but is it a possibility that this is going to work both ways, where she's representing we the people, and we the people are you and me, Democrats, Republicans, anybody that wants to live in a free America? Because if this election is settled because of the machines and saying the machines and the software are just fine, we got an issue. we have a real problem. We may never see another election in this country. I want to see what Van had something to say. The first thing Trump needs to do is stop Creepy Joe from getting 210 or 270 delegates, even to get to Congress, or then let it get to Congress. Excuse me. I'm kind of paraphrasing because of the screen, Van. So forgive me if I'm not reading every word exact. Then the majority, the majority will get who will go to Donald Trump. Yeah, well, it would go to if it goes to the Congress, it would go to Donald Trump more than likely, because you've got right now you've got the Senate. But if it goes past the 120 days, then you've got Nancy Pelosi as your president. So then therefore, I don't know if the House and the Congress would and the Senate would then, prior to Nancy Pelosi, decide who's the president. That a lot of that's going to depend on the Supreme Court. That's how things work out in the Supreme Court. Jason goes on to say that the Biden campaign didn't have a campaign because they were going to get they knew they were going to get the election. That goes back to exactly what I was trying to go to earlier, possibly before you got on, Jason, and that is for the last 4 years, for 4 years now, they have done nothing but try to impeach and plan a way to make sure that they did not lose this election. By any chance at all will they lose this election. This has been planned. This has been a plan that's been going on. It's kind of like the coronavirus. People call it a pandemic. That it was a planned situation by China or whatever. But I'm telling you, this election, do you think for 1 minute Hillary has never gotten over that she lost the election? She still thinks she won the election, and that Donald Trump stole it from her. So you think that she or anybody else in the Democrat little group or big group that says we're going to get Trump out of office? They tried the Russia collusion, that failed. They tried the impeaching, that failed. Do you think that they were going to stop at that? We had to know that the election, a sitting president that gets the most votes ever for a sitting president and still loses, and the challenger ends up with 180 million votes versus 174 million votes. No, I'm going to tell you right now, that is not even a possibility in anybody, if in their right mind, if you think about it, especially when the deadline of the election is at a certain time, and the mail-in ballots that Donald Trump warned everybody, he's not talking about absentee, and he wasn't talking about absentee, but he warned people this election, because of the blanket mails, everybody and anybody. I even saw someone on TV last night that said, "I'm not a citizen. I still got a mail ballot to vote," and that would have been illegal for him to do so. Now, Jason, you said something before I get to Van's comment. I'm going to say something. Jason, you said something earlier about the military and Donald Trump. I'm going to tell you something. The question has come up about why are votes going from the United States to Barcelona, Spain, to Frankfurt, Germany. Now, we've heard that a hard drive, soft whatever, out of Frankfurt, Germany, has been confiscated by the military, but we don't know what military. Was it the German military, or was it the United States military over in Germany? We may never know. And as far as the envelopes that have been tossed away, they'll never be returned. That's why in my opinion, all mail-in ballots, other than absentee ballots, should be tossed out. And I'm hoping the Supreme Court looks at it in a lawful way that says that these ballots are not to be counted. That would in itself flip the election back to where it rightfully belongs. That's to Donald Trump. Now, if the vote is truly a true vote, then we have to accept it if it is Biden. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm not buying it. I do not believe that Biden got that many votes. No way. And I can't believe that with Michigan, especially Wayne County, that when and in Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia, where they were blocking windows and throwing people out that were supposed to be watching the vote, and the judge saying that 24 feet is close enough to see what's going on. Well, most people can't see what's being written 24 feet without even with binoculars. You tell me that you can see 24 feet what somebody's writing or what somebody's doing. I want to see proof of it with binoculars, especially, and without binoculars, it's impossible. Even 6 feet, you can't. You're supposed to have a Republican and a Democrat on each side of these, watching these ballot counts. Well, when the Republicans are shut out, does that tell you something? Doesn't it tell you something when it's awful strange that there's only one vote on a ballot, and it turns out to be for Biden and not for any other representative or any other senator that's a Democrat? That's so obvious, even a child could figure that one out. That something is wrong, something has happened, some kind of fraud has been involved. Let me go on here. I'm sorry, Van. I didn't mean to not. I was not forgetting about you. Van says, don't forget about the military complex. They want Trump out because of as wait a minute. Oh, they want a more warmonger. Okay, I got what you're saying, Van. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, so what? So here, let's go on. He said, just look at the amount of people at Trump's rallies, which is what I mentioned earlier. Thousands. Biden had none. This is pure fraud. Well, it is pure fraud, and that's what I'm trying to say, and that's what I'm hoping why I'm hoping you people will share this video. Van goes on to say, you didn't get the software rigged by Biden's. Wait a minute here. Let me make sure I get this right. He didn't get the software. It was rigged to give Biden the Trump votes. That's what's happened. You're right. Is that Trump's votes went to Biden. They flipped them. Doris says they only wanted to. They were trained to cheat. That's what I'm talking about, Doris. When I said in these training sessions, especially in Wayne County, I don't know about any of the other states, but because they're talking so much about Wayne County and around the Detroit area, where the people said they admit, not just one, but I think there's several of them have admitted with affidavits that they were trained and showed how to cheat. So if this election is won by fraud, and if the Supreme Court doesn't get their hands on it, that's probably what's going to happen. The question becomes, what happens in the future? North Carolina right now, besides what's going on with the presidential election and the contested results, Georgia right now is the absolute, positively the most important election we've got going right this minute, because that will control the Senate one way or the other. Because if it's a tie, Kamala Harris, if she becomes the vice president, will truly be the tiebreaker, and the Republicans stand no chance. So this business you've heard of people about, I mean, it's almost fraudulent to even have them say it. For people to move to Georgia to vote so they can vote Democrats. Well, number one, that's illegal. That's against the law because Georgia says you've got to be a citizen for at least 6 months and prove it. You got to be able to prove it. Well, guess what? How many people could get false IDs, false driver's license, false whatever, false voting, whatever Georgia requires? And if Georgia uses these machines for their election, then I don't think there's any chance of a Republican winning. I just don't see it. The Senate. I'm talking about the Senate, and they need 51 to actually control the Senate. So that 51st vote could end up being Kamala Harris, because right now it sits at 50-48. But there's still got to be a runoff in January for the Georgia Senate in order to make this an official vote, because they're so close in the percentage. And I think that was part of software as well, but that's just my opinion. Let me go on. Jason said Sidney Powell said the Democratic or the Dominion, system company was actually captured by the military because it was in question, and whether or not it was captured by the good or the bad forces. Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. We don't know what military. We absolutely don't have a clue what military. So if you think about this, if it was captured by the military, Germany is no friend right now of Donald Trump's. So chances are that hardware or that hard drive, we may never see it. We may never know what it says. But those were real-time votes. Those were real-time votes. And why? To this day, I don't understand why our votes are leaving the country to be counted from the United States to Barcelona, Italy, to Germany. And I got to tell you, I believe that China is behind some of this as well as Bernie, or as well as George Soros, because China does not want Donald Trump in as president, because all the sanctions that Donald Trump has put on them, all the tariffs, Joe Biden will override them and just get rid of them. And then jobs are going to leave this country. We're going to be under the control of the government again. People are going to be, we could go into a recession, which is a big reset that we're going to be talking about. And right now, Donald Trump is the one person that's holding up the big reset, and that's why they don't want him in office. That's I'm talking about China, and I'm talking about other countries Iran, North Korea, any of these countries. They don't want Trump in as president. So keep that in mind. And because we are going to do a show, I want to do a show about the big reset, and I keep promising, but I want to tell you right now, this election, we've got to keep following it. We've got to keep following it because we're finding things new and more every day. And especially like today, when we find out that Sidney Powell is not a part of the Trump legal team, and she will continue to fight for we the people. And I'm wondering if Lynn Wood is going to be the spokesperson along with Rudy Giuliani. I can't answer because I don't know. Van Dan says, so what can we do to as individuals to stop the steal? You called and checked your vote and want to Trump, but what else can we do? Something. I understand what you're saying, Van, and you're right. What can we do? The only thing at this point we can do is what a lot of people did. Did you see the Washington D.C. march in favor of or protest or whatever you want to call it, rally? When just the other last weekend or whenever that was when there had to have been hundreds of thousands, if not a million people that were there. It was called a million people for Trump, whatever. You know the point, and you know what I'm talking about. America has to pressure their representatives somehow that they will impeach them. Somehow there's got to be a way legally in our Constitution for criminal activity by the politicians, that the people can have them impeached somehow by some kind of class action lawsuits. And I know there's some class action lawsuits going on right now. Now, against who or which states, I'm not exactly sure. I think Pennsylvania's probably got one. Possibly that there's possibility that Michigan may have one. But you've got in Michigan, you've got a governor and a secretary of state that don't even care what the Constitution or what the legislation of Michigan has to say, because Michigan is a Republican legislation. They would decide who the electors are. But do you think that's going to happen? Do you think that's really going to happen? That the governor is, or the secretary of state is going to allow that to happen? Jason says, let's see, now I'm reading this again. And so if I lean forward, you'll understand what I'm doing. I'm trying to read the print on of the messages. Jason says that this battle is leaning towards President Trump in a huge way. The Supreme Court going to be where we get our victory. And I hope you're right about that. I hope you're right about that, Jason, that the Supreme Court will be the one that actually looks at this. But you got to remember, you got John Roberts, who is leaning to the Democrats in almost every vote. We thought he was a conservative that would help, weigh things out. Right now, as I see it, there's a possibility of a 5-4 in favor of Trump. But that's even questionable, because out of that 5, there could be 1 that would go along with John Roberts if it gets to the Supreme Court. And that's the whole thing, Jason. This whole thing, all these states that are involved, is the Supreme Court going to do this and take on all these states? Or are they going to do it as a total fraud by these machines and have all mail ballots thrown away because they were not checked, and have the machines that were used in these states thrown out, overturned, or whatever at the deadline? I mean, there's so much, and that's why this is going to take some time. This is not going to happen overnight. And when people, and we're all anxious to find out who the real winner is going to be. Joe Biden is already trying to set up his cabinet. They want a transition team set up, and they want Trump to give the transition. Well, no, I wouldn't give it up either if I was Trump at this point. He wants a fair election because he knows he's looking at the future of America. He's looking at the future of elections. So this is something that we've got to think about, something that people need to understand. This is not just an ordinary statewide, local, county, city type of election. This is a nationwide election that's going to determine the future of America and possibly the future of the world. Because the United States definitely, especially with Trump, because Trump doesn't back down from anybody. He doesn't back down from anybody. But the United States themselves, people have looked at us as being the strongest nation, and they do know we're not going to mess around. But if we become part of that and we lose what Trump has done, the country's going to be done. The country will be done. And look, I don't mean to sound like I'm such a naysayer, or I'm so much of a pessimistic. I'm telling you as it is. We will become a communistic country. It may not happen overnight, but it's going to happen if you've got children, it'll happen in their lifetime. If you've got grandchildren, it's going to happen in their lifetime. But we can't allow that. And as Van says, what do we do? Well, I have to agree. What do? We have to stick together. We have to trust each other. We have to keep pushing our representatives and our congressmen. Somehow find a constitutional attorney that can say we can impeach these people who have become criminals, because the politicians, if you look at them, local all the way up the line to federal, So many of them are criminal. So many of them are dishonest. And I'm not saying all of them because we've got some good people on both sides. We've got some honest people on both sides. The main thing we have to do is get rid of these criminals. Get rid of them. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen if George Soros dies and his money goes away. I'm assuming he's got family. They'll just keep trying to buy their way. They'll buy everything. Let me go on here. I'm sorry because I think the next one, yeah, Van said Trump isn't a warmonger, and that's why they took out took off JFK, and now they're wanting Trump out. You make a very good strong point because I was thinking about JFK the other day with this election. If the unfortunate thing about JFK because of the anniversary is because he wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve, and he and Johnson disagreed about the Vietnam War. John Kennedy was taken out for a reason. I'm so thankful. I'm surprised that and I know that has happened, but we're not getting a lot of reports about it. I'm surprised that they didn't try to take out Trump more than what they have. I'm talking about like they did with JFK. That was, I mean, when you look back at history, that was the Democrat Party. That was your father's Democrat Party. The Democrat Party today is not. Today's Democrat Party is more of a socialist, communistic party, period. Now, those people that are Democrats doesn't mean that are voting out there. Not all of them are like that. That's impossible. I mean, they don't like it any more than you or I do. Anyway, but JFK was actually, if you go back and look, he did have some treasury notes made because he wanted the United States Treasury back. He didn't want the Federal Reserve. Van said, yes, I'm probably wrong. I'm going, you're probably going November 14. Now, when you say that, are you referring, Van, as you're going to, I want you to explain that to me because whatever you said earlier, I want to make sure I'm clear on this. And I hope that you people are sharing this video, not for me, because I'm looking at your comments because you all are making such great comments, and I got to apologize for those that were on last week's show. I did not personally thank you, but for those that are watching right now, I'm if I don't get to you, it's because I've got so many things going right now. But I really thank each and every one of you. I want to get that in before I forget. Jason says, let me see. Wait. Let me go back here. Let me make sure that I've got the. I want to make sure where Van left off. Let me see here, Doris. Okay, because I missed. Okay, there we go. Doris was next, and okay, boy, there's been a lot of sudden, and I apologize. Comment. Doris says, and the AG is a Democrat. Yeah, no, the Attorney General is a Democrat in Michigan. You're right about that, Doris. The legislature is going to try to impeach Whitmer. I've heard something about this. I don't know the full details about it, Doris, but I think that would be a good idea only because of her dictatorship type of ruling, if nothing else. And she's not really, I mean, she might be thinking somewhat about the people. I won't discredit her on that part, but for her to say one thing and for her to do another thing is totally different. Why should the people have to do something when her own husband can go out and do his thing and she can do her thing? That's just like Nancy Pelosi going to her hair stylist or whatever it was she went without a mask, and yet she's telling everybody else you better wear a mask. These people, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Van says, I think I think that there will be civil unrest or civil war by patriots like myself. Dan, I mentioned that today, and I said it. I think it's a possibility that we could be looking at, and I don't like to use this term, but it was Bob Freud, and I remember this. He mentioned something about a revolution. I don't want to see that happen. I pray that it doesn't happen. But Van, you may be right, because of the fact look, you can't even buy ammo anymore if you can find it. That's how many people have bought guns and ammunition, because they're expecting. But the whole thing was they were more expecting that Trump was going to win. Why do you think these cities like New York were boarding up? Businesses were boarding up because they figured if Trump won, the left was going to go gangbusters and they were going to end up trying to destroy everything. Well, so far, since there's not been a decision, I'm not sure that the Republicans or the conservatives, whatever you want to put it, the libertarians, it doesn't matter. I don't know that they would want that kind of violence, but do I think it could happen? Yes, I do. Do I want to see it happen? No, I don't. I don't want to see bloodshed in our streets. This is America. This is not Vietnam, or this is not some crazy country that, like Iran, that or whatever, Syria, where they will chop off your head if you look cross-eyed, or So you have a point. The main thing I guess we have to look at is be prepared for anything. People who actually had Trump signs in their yard could be targeted after this election is decided, if Trump ends up actually being the winner. They could be targets. And if that's the case, no one's safe. No one is safe. And I don't want to see that happen. Van also goes on to say people need to stop paying attention to the mainstream media. Well, yeah, Van, that's so true. It's not just the mainstream media now; it's become the Democrat media. That's my new term for it. I've always said they are not news medias; they are commentary. So the bottom line there is that now they are the Democrat media. Even Fox News, I'm throwing in my hands. There's only a few people on Fox News I will watch. Mark Levin. I'll watch Mark Levin. I'll watch Jesse Waters. I'll watch Judge Jeannie. I'll watch Laura Ingraham. I'll watch Sean Hannity. I'll watch Tucker Carlson, except for the fact that now I think Tucker Carlson is maybe showing some true colors. I don't know. I could be wrong. I hope so, because of his business with and he had a good point. I have to admit, as a commentator, he had a good point. The business with Attorney Powell, Sidney Powell. He wanted to know. He wanted some evidence, and of course, she wasn't going to give up evidence to anybody until she can give it to the courts, because once it goes out public, that then they got no case, because then it becomes a conspiracy. Then it becomes this one lied, the other one gets threatened, and so on and so forth. All these people are in danger that have signed affidavits if it gets out. So that's why I mentioned the media has now become the Democrat media. I won't watch I watch the 5 to a certain point on Fox, but I've been watching One America News and Newsmax, and I like the way Newsmax does their interviews. I really do. I really am impressed with the way Newsmax is picking up viewers like crazy. They're stealing Fox's viewers. They really are. And I think One America News is now stealing a lot of them. The fact is, One America News is not quite as big as Newsmax, but they're growing, and they're going to grow fast. And Fox better be watching, or they could end up behind the 8 ball. Their viewership could cost them advertisers, which is very possible. Let me go on here. Jason says you're right, Neil. If Biden gets in America, and as goes the world. Okay, in America, as goes the world. That's right. Everything, uh, everything is at stake. They'll go down in history. Hopefully, the truth. This will go down in history, and hopefully, the truth. I hope you're right, Jason. I'm going to tell you something. This whole thing is a matter of truth. We have to have truth, and this is what Donald Trump is saying. Everybody's saying, well, Donald Trump needs to concede. No, he doesn't need to concede until the truth comes out, the actual truth of the voting. If the voting comes out that Joe Biden won fairly without any help from these Dominion machines or the Smartmatic or any other software that can be messed with, software is programmed to do what it's supposed to do. The machines are set up to do what they're supposed to do. I saw a video that Symantec, and you've heard of Symantec, I'm sure, because they're involved with computers, where they bought online a Dominion machine, and they pulled the chip out, and they said they showed how it could be reset to do exactly what it wanted to. And that's how the software and these machines were set up, according to what we know at this point, is that when they were stopped the counting and Trump was ahead, and I gave you earlier the numbers of the percentage of how far ahead he was in these states of just Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and just those states. I'm not talking about Nevada. I'm not talking about Arizona. I'm talking about those particular states. And he was so far enough ahead, except in one state, which was close, and that state happened to be Wisconsin, I believe it was 48. It was either 48 or 46 to 51, and Trump was leading. Trump was leading in all those states, and he was leading by an enormous amount in Pennsylvania, like 57 to 41%. So these machines were, when they were all shut down, when the counting was shut down, the nights that they were shut down, almost at the same time, and then when they were restarted, I know I'm repeating myself, but for those of you that missed it, you know what I'm talking about. Why all of a sudden, when the next morning, when they were turned back on, Trump is no longer ahead by 700,000 points or whatever it was. He was behind. So something is rotten in Denmark, as the old saying goes. I guess I'm dating myself. Van says, I want to make sure I got everybody. Yeah, I got, all right, Van is next. Remember there have been 36 attempts, or 26, excuse me, attempts to kill Trump already. I didn't know the total amount. Thank you for that, Van, because I did not know. That's good information. So, can you imagine the Secret Service, for crying out loud? And speaking of Secret Service, it makes me wonder, in our government, what about the CIA? What about the FBI? Where were they when they knew about these kind of things that were going on? You know that if they had anything going, they actually knew that there was a possibility. They had to have known. There's too much in the CIA and the FBI that knows too much about what goes on in our lives. They know more about what goes on in our lives than we do. So you're going to tell me they don't know what's going on with when it comes to the voting and the fraud and so on and so forth from one country to another, especially when this Dominion machine was tied with Venezuela and Hugo Chavez, and I think it was Maduro right now. Come on, look at what happened to Venezuela. They, from a rich, wealthy country, people are coming to the United States because they want to get away from that. Okay, Van, you said you're going to Washington, D.C. All right. And are you going? Is that for a protest type of thing, or maybe you can explain that to me? I want to get back up here because I don't want to miss Doris. All right, because after Washington, D.C., Van says, sad that Fox has called it for Creepy Joe. Well, they called Arizona at 20%. If you remember, they at 20% of the vote in, they called Arizona for Biden. That right there was a big mistake, because then all of a sudden other stations did the same thing. Newsmax and I think One America Now has not declared a winner at all, because they don't even have Joe Biden at 270 electoral votes. No, it is sad that Fox did that, but I'm going to tell you something. Fox is paying for it somehow or another. I'm telling you right now, they're paying for it. They're losing viewers. Doris says, I think that when it comes to someone in the Democrat Party will knock him off. Or no, you think if Biden gets in, someone in the Democrat Party will knock him off. Well, here's what I'm thinking, Doris, in that situation, and I don't want to see anybody get knocked off. I don't care if it's Biden or Harris or whoever, because I don't, that's not what any of us want to see. We never want to see a president or a vice president, no matter who they are, get killed or murdered, in other words. But the point is, I think what they might do is they might find Biden as being incompetent. If he were to get knocked off, I would say it would be. I don't want to use this. I don't want to start a conspiracy. I don't want to start a thought. This is just an opinion. I think I would have to agree with Doris. It would probably be someone on the left, and then the Republicans would be blamed, or somebody on the right, the far right, maybe a militia that's gone wild, like whatever, might be blamed, and then we would end up with another situation like Van said about a civil war. The point I'm getting at is this election is not over. The lawsuits are not over. There's civil right now lawsuits, because they're doing them, state by state, because they're not federal yet at this point. So it's going to take them time. It may take more time than what we think. Donald Trump will be the official president until it is decided, even though if after January 20th it is not decided, Nancy Pelosi, if she is the House Speaker at that time, because AOC wants and her squad want her out, they're going to try to push her out. But if she's still the Speaker, she will be the president. She will act as president of the United States. Okay, I want to go on. Dan Brown. Hey, Dan, I'm glad you could make it. Let's see what you got to say here. The libs are commie crooks. Well, you know what? I think what's going on right now, the Democrat Party, Dan, is the fact that the Democrat Party has become more socialistic and more communistic. That's why I said they're not our father's Democrat Party. If you think about it, they're not the party of even John Kennedy. Let me go on here. Van Dan says this was planned. COVID is being used. Oh, it sure is. I don't even know what else you're going to say yet until I read it. But you're absolutely right on that one. It's used as an excuse to commit fraud, and that's why they want everyone to mail in voter cards. Oh, wow! Did you nail it? That is exactly what has happened. They used COVID to use the mail-in, the willy-nilly mail-in. I'm not talking about absentee ballots. There's a total difference about an absentee mail-in. Total different. But when you got states like New York, you got states like Pennsylvania, you got states like Georgia or New York, wherever, California, that are just mailing out to anybody and everybody, you're going to get fraud. It's just like I'm telling you right now. It's just like if you get something in the mail with somebody's check, somebody's absolute check. If you cash it because it was sent to your house and you can get away with cashing it, then you've committed a fraud. Well, these people that voted also committed a fraud. And the states that sent them out caused a fraud because they used COVID-19 as an excuse. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, this is what Donald Trump has tried to warn everybody about when it came to when it came to the mail ballots, it was not the absentee ballot he was concerned about. It was not the people going to the vote to go out to vote. It was the mail ballots that anybody could get their hands on, and in many cases got 2 or 3 of them. And many cases they did. Some cases, they've already caught some people that did I don't know how many, just a very large amount, and filled them all out. So how many blank could somebody get? How many was somebody else's name? And just go ahead and fill it out and sign it, send it in, and vote for Joe Biden. The mail-in ballots should all be tossed out. If that was a mail-in ballot, they should be gone. I don't care what state, I don't care what party, I don't care about anything else. All mail-in ballots should be tossed out. I want to keep going on here. See, Van Dan says that's why Trump is on. Has his own security guard. Yeah, he does have his own security guard. I did hear about that, but he also has the Secret Service. And Harris is another puppet. Well, yeah, of course he is. Van Dam says California. You're referring to the mail ballots in that case, Van, and the way California is running their state right now, for crying out loud, telling people what they can eat, or basically, and how they can eat, and how many people, and how far away you can sit in your own house. They're not the only state this is going on. I mean, this is a good sign of what communism is. This is a good sign of what's going to happen if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and a House Senate, or the Senate is a Democratic Senate. This is just a good start, a point of California and New York, the way they run their states. I'm telling you, I don't care if you live in California, I don't care if you live in New York, I don't care where you live. If you have laws like what's going on with these governors saying you can only have so many people in your house, and possibly your neighbor's going to call because and turn you in, that's communistic state. That's a communist state. I'm telling you right now. And the real votes that I have seen so far, what they call real votes, the contested states, some went Democrat, but some didn't. So what is the real vote? That's the whole thing. And where are we headed? Where are we headed? I'm going to get back to the comments, because these are very, very important. Jason says, hey, Neil, Dan Brown was my father-in-law, and myself, if I believe in myself and believe in Trump and his cause. By Dan, thanks for joining. Oh, Dan, well, yeah, he's Jason, that's your father-in-law. Well, definitely welcome him. You know what? I welcome anybody and everybody, because I'm going to tell you something. This show belongs to you. It doesn't belong to me. I'm only here to give you the topic and the commentary and my opinions, and your opinions are what make it. And I'm so glad that you invited Dan. Dan, I'm so glad that you could make it, and I appreciate your comments. I really do. I'm going to go on. Rain Biden, let me see. Wait a minute here. But when mail, first of all, I want to welcome you. I think this is the first time for a lot of people here tonight. But with the mail-in ballots, you have a record that you can track the votes. This is probably, I got to bring that up just a little bit before I finish reading it. There we go. This is probably because the most honest elections we have are in decades. This is probably This has probably been the most honest election that we've had in decades, because thanks to so much oversight. I'm not sure I understand that one, because the mail-in votes, the mail-in ballots, actually, you can't track them. If once they throw that envelope away, You cannot track the mail-in ballot. You can't track the signature. You can't track anything. And I want to make sure I'm reading. It's Rain. Okay. Okay. Rain. Live in California, and nobody is telling me what to do. Well, I appreciate that. And I'm glad to hear that because you know what? That's the way it should be, Rain. You should be able to think for yourself. You don't need the government to think for you. You don't need the government to tell you what's best for you when you know your own body. That's my whole point about this. So I totally agree with what you're just saying. Um, and that's a good point. I'm not sure I understand your first part about this being the most honest election because I can't see. Not with these machines, and with the mail-in ballots. There's too much of a chance. And the reason I'm telling you this is because there's too much of a chance, and you know this. I'm just more or less refreshing your memory. Uh, and the fact is, there's too much of a chance of somebody who has left the state and somebody else moving into that address. That person that left the state did not notify their area, their district, that they have left so that they can legally vote in another state. So the person that has moved into their apartment or their house, whatever the case might be, can end up voting twice. And then how often does this happen? Because people come and go in each state daily. I mean, look at how many people daily go or used to go to California, moved to California, now are moving to Florida. So it's happening all over is what I'm saying. This kind of a thing, because of mail-in voting, they with no real name on it, what happens is you end up with phony voting. They can't be traced. They can't be tracked. And there is a watermark on the real ballots for absentee or any type of mail ballots. There is a watermark on the phony ones. There is not one on the envelope. That's where they messed up. So anyway, let me go on here. Live in California. Yeah, we already said that you're not going to tell you what to eat. That's right. You know what? And it's what you're supposed to put your utensils, what kind of utensils and what kind of plate you're supposed to use and how far apart you're supposed to sit inside the house. And I want to know how they're going to find out. Hey, Lori, how are you? I'm glad you could make it. Lori says we are screwed. Well, I hope not. I hope that there's still enough out there in this country that we can get some truth to it and we can get to the bottom of it. And I hope, by all means, if President Trump does lose the election in an honest way, in an honest, true, honest way, that it goes through the courts to prove that. I hope that happens. I hope that Georgia definitely votes Republican for the Senate when the runoff in January. Because if they don't, then we are screwed. You're right, Lori, about that. Rain says, truth. Okay. Dan Brown, hey, welcome back, Dan. Glad you could do it. Enjoyed it, but have to go. Listen, I appreciate it, Dan. I hope you haven't already left, but you've been great, and I really appreciate your participation. I appreciate everybody's participation. I've had some great comments tonight. Van says, Gavin Newsom says that you are excuse me, your days, Gavin Newsom's days are numbered. Okay, thank you. There is a recall on him that is supposed to have hit the one. Oh, they're supposed to have been surpassed by a 1 million mark. See, the news doesn't tell us that. We don't see that on commentary because I don't really call it news anymore. Not by these outfits that are reporting. They're making commentary. They're not making news. They're not telling us the news. So Dan, Van, you've got a very strong point there. And Doris earlier said that they want to impeach Whitmer. She, in my opinion, is as much of a dictator as Cuomo in New York or Newsom in California. I say dictator. Maybe that's a rough word. Maybe that's a strong word, but that's my opinion. That's, I'm allowed to have an opinion. Uh, but no, they don't have a right. You have a constitutional right to have free speech, to have the freedom to move about where you want, unless it is an unlawful or it's been blocked off by your local police or the state police or whatever the case might be, the federal government. When I say locked off, I'm talking about in this very serious situation. Then you don't have the freedom to move around. But when it comes to where you go, what you eat, what you do, who you go visit, whether it's your family or whether it's your girlfriend, boyfriend, well, it doesn't matter what it is. If you want to go to the store, you have a constitutional right to go to the store. Now, if you go to that store and the store says you have to wear a mask before you can come in, that store has the right. That's not taking away your constitutional right. That's their requirement so that you do not either catch the virus or that you do not spread it if you should have it and don't even know it. So these states that are telling you you can only have 10 people to your house and you got to sit 6 feet apart and you got to use plates that are already got food put in them and use plastic to eat out of. No, see, that's communism, people. Because number one, they're dictating to you what you can even have to eat, to put in your mouth. They're dictating to you how you can eat it. They're dictating to you what you can use to eat with. That's not America. That's not America. Now, as far as people not going to their families, that is a choice that you make individually. And I'm telling you, your family makes individually. Is if you decide that's a safe way to do is not to go have a gathering, that's your right. Because you're trying to protect the rest of your family. Maybe they have an elderly person that could end up with the virus. I'm just saying that this is your right. We are losing our rights. The First Amendment right, the right to go to church. Look at the churches that are shut down, but yet they'll open up stores, they'll open up bars, they'll open up gyms, or whatever the case might be. I'm just throwing some examples, but they're telling you you can't gather in church. That's freedom of religion. And then when we have a possible incoming president and vice president say that we are going to lock down the country if we're told by our scientists, and they're going to use the scientists they want, and so on and so forth. They're going to lock down our country, and Fauci says that we could be wearing masks till the end of the year or end of 2021. People are going to revolt even against that. People are going to say, "Look, we've had enough of this." They don't want they tell you they're not going to take the vaccine that Trump comes out with. Well, Trump didn't develop it. Pfizer, Moderna, all these other companies got up to 4 companies right now that have got a vaccine ready to go. It's your choice whether you should take it. It's your choice. Trump is not demanding it. They will demand it, but they say they won't take Trump's vaccine, but they'll take the one that their scientists agree with. This is crazy. This whole thing is crazy. I feel like I'm in a nightmare, like what was it, the show Twilight Zone. It's almost like we're in the Twilight Zone, and this is not good, because this is 1984 Orwellian. If you think about it, if you know anything about the George Orwell's 1984 book that I think did become a movie, which we talked about last show, then this is 1984. It's not 2020. I want to go on. Gavin Newsom, that's his van again, is a tyrant and most socialistic. Oh yeah, I totally agree. Because here's the thing. This is what's happened in New York, and this is what's happened in Michigan, and this is Michigan, of all places you would not think would become the way they are, but with the governor that they got, look what's happened to Michigan. They're becoming like New York. They're becoming like Cuomo and his gang, and they're becoming like Newsom and his gang. This is very serious, people. I'm telling you, it's very, very serious. Doris says they need to learn that they work for us. Something, Doris, we talked about that before. Yes, we are the government. According to our founding fathers in the Constitution, we are the government. The preamble to the Constitution starts out We the people. We the people. We are the government. They work for us. But guess what's happened, people? Because we have elected them in the system that we have, which has worked in the past, but there have been crooked elections in the past as well, probably since the beginning. The point I'm getting at, they were smart enough to put the Electoral College in place so that one state or two states or three states can't decide for all the other states because of population. That's why the Electoral College. But you know, the whole thing about them that they work for us, Doris, I'm going to have to agree with you. They're supposed to. And I think Donald Trump, and I'm going to tell you as I feel, I think Donald Trump was doing exactly that. He was working for the American people. He wasn't working for himself. He was not working with the politicians or for the politicians because he was not a politician. He was a businessman that knew what it takes to make something successful. And he was working on that. He was succeeding on that. He did what he told us he would do. And anybody that wants to argue with me, we'll have that debate. I don't care. The point is this. Donald Trump loves America. Now, I've heard people say he's part of the deep state. He's part of this. He's part of that. He's, get off your bandwagon, because I'm going to tell you something. Donald Trump, everything he did to try to for this United States of America. He's trying to bring. He brought jobs back in. He brought money back in from China that's been owed to us. Politicians right now hate Trump because he's not a politician. He is an outsider. That's why even before he was elected president and took the oath, they tried to impeach him. Go back and look. 2016, go back and look. They tried to impeach him before he was even president, and they haven't stopped. And now here all we hear is the media, the left-wing Democrat media, and the Democrats screaming and hollering, concede, 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 concede. They never gave up conceding. In 4 years, they never gave up, not one iota. And right now, with this election makes it, they're still not giving up. And going back to what Van says, what can we do? We have to come together as citizens that love this country and say, we've had it. You are going to be impeached. Somehow we've got to find a way in the Constitution that allows us to impeach these people in each and every state that is not obeying what the people's will is. Just because we send you to Washington doesn't mean that you get your payoff and say, well, hey, I tried. No, you didn't try. But if you tried, you would have succeeded. I'm sorry, I started ranting there. I didn't mean to do that. I really apologize. I'm going to go on here. Look at our schools in California. Our children can't even attend school. That's happening all over, man. That's happening all over. Why do you think? What is it? New York? These mothers were having all this outrage and this march against it because the schools are being closed. The children can't go to school. That's happening all over the country. That's happening all over the country. So you're right. They cannot go to school. And he says, let me see here. Your charges of our living. Let me see what I mean. There sure changes of living COVID-19 and the seventh year or 45 and under. Oh, you're talking about the count. I think that's what you're referring to as far as schools are concerned and the children are concerned. No, you're right. There's the age group that we're talking about. There is an age group where, and if you look at the true numbers, the true percentage of how many people get it and how many people actually die, the percentage is low. When you look at the real numbers, if somebody dies from Sidney Powell said, somebody dies from a car accident or falls off a roof from the ladder and breaks their neck, they call it COVID. They died from COVID. So everything that's being listed now, and let me tell you why, and this is now finally has come out, because hospitals get paid more. That's why our hospitals are filling up so fast all of a sudden. They get paid more if it's COVID. You know what? I posted online on Facebook. Maybe you missed it or you didn't get to see it, but I'm going to tell you about it. The hospital in South Bend, Indiana has ordered an ice refrigerated truck for bodies. South Bend, Indiana suddenly has ordered a refrigerated truck for bodies. The hospital. Now, they didn't do that when it began, when this first started, and all the scare tactics going on about how many people were dying and how many they didn't, the morgues didn't have room, and so on and so forth. But now that we're at an election point, all of a sudden, the death rate's gone up, COVID's gone up. Now they got to order refrigerated trucks. Why didn't they order refrigerated trucks before? Another hospital in the area ordered it back in January, or excuse me, back in April. So that's why I'm saying this whole thing stinks. Everything from the COVID right on down to the election, it all stinks. It smells rotten to the core. I'm sorry, I got to ranting, but I've got to get on to these comments, because this is really getting some something. Jason says not constitutional at all when they are when they with our that they take away our rights. Excuse me. Yes, the government would not have that type of power. The people should. I totally agree, Jason. I totally agree, because let me tell you something. The power has been taken away slowly from the people because we have corrupt politicians that get paid to make the laws. Do you know that if you go back at the beginning of our country, lawyers were not allowed to hold office? Because they were considered royalty, and royalty was to England. So the United States Constitution was set up by our forefathers that lawyers could not hold a public office of any kind. Well, guess what? Even in our state now, the officials are lawyers. In Washington, D.C., they're lawyers. So they make laws for themselves, not for you and me. They make laws to protect themselves so that they don't have to do the same things you and I do. They don't have to follow the rules. If a foreigner comes over, a foreign diplomat comes over and he commits some kind of crime, he doesn't even get fined. He doesn't go to jail if he gets drunk and he hits somebody, because that's the way our lawyers in Washington, D.C. have set it up. Now, unless that's changed, which we could have, which I would hope it did, but I don't know. Van Dan says, let me see here. I'm trying to make that out. Oh, ask Dr. Butter. Is that what that says, Dan? Let me see. I'm trying to make it out. I apologize. I will look at it later, because I do want to click that on and check it out. But it's something about ask.com. For those of you that are reading that, you can probably see it. Because I'm looking at a white screen with light gray print. I can't make it out as well. So I apologize for that. Maybe Dan, maybe you can just private message me with that link. I would appreciate that if you would take the time to do that. Doris says, my doctor told me it is not good to be locked up. No, let me tell you something. There's probably the deaths of suicide, number one, depression and overdose of drugs, number two. You're breathing, you're not getting outside, you're not getting the air that you need to breathe that's good, that helps keep you healthy. Depression, especially depression for people that have no family. I know I got off the topic of what we were talking about earlier about the election but the COVID is part of this, like Van said. The COVID is definitely part of this. There's no doubt about it. This election, the mail ballots, not the absentee, but the mail ballots definitely is part of the COVID virus. That was the plan. They've been planning this for 5 years. They've had to figure out a way for 5 years. Who knows if the Democrats haven't been working with China to get this virus released. Now, that's a conspiracy you can talk about. That's a conspiracy that you can say, hey, wait a minute, Neil. You know, you're kind of stretching it. Well, am I? Am I really stretching it when you see what's happened in our election? Anyway, let's go on. I don't want to let anybody out here. Let me see here. Van, I got Van. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't. I missed a couple here. My gosh. I want to make sure I got everyone. All right. Doris was that my doctor. All right. That was the last one. Now the bunch of them came in after that. That's why Harris, Van says that's why Harris will sign the executive bill to take away our guns. Exactly. Bingo, 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 bingo. You just hit the hammer on the nail. Because that's what their only reason America is. That's why America is only free. That's one of the reasons. And you're right about that, Van. I've said that for a long time. At least we've had our freedom of owning a gun, but that's going to be taken away if we're not careful. And then Doris goes on to say that Trump's still working for the people. Yes, he is. I have to tell you, he is. He's still working for the people. And thank you for that, because I didn't say that, Doris, when I mentioned that I thought that he worked for the people. I didn't go on further like I should have. I want to keep going here. Van says that the Trump about Trump and NAFTA trade agreement, which Clinton passed, that caused 540,000 jobs, manufacturers returned to China. Yes, and I got to tell you something. I was at a press conference with Bill Clinton that Bill Clinton was at. I was invited to this press conference, Van. And one of the questions I asked him was about the NAFTA agreement and how it's supposed to take 7 years. That give it 7 years and it's going to work out. And when I asked him the question about how can you tell some young family that when the husband loses his job because the job either got moved out of the country and he loses his pickup because he can't make his payment. He loses his house because he can't pay the mortgage. And then his family, he loses his family because he can't even feed his family. How are you going to tell this young man, wait 7 years and it's going to get better? Well, I got to tell you, Bill Clinton could not answer my question. I've still got that on tape if you even want to hear it. So I'm not just exaggerating. This is when I was doing my radio show. I don't even know why, because I was definitely not a big fan of the Clintons. But that's neither here nor there. But I got invited by the White House press secretary to go to this meeting. It was in Chicago, by the way. That's the reason I was there. We're getting short. We're getting run out of time. I've gone way over what I thought I would, but you guys have done some fantastic comments. My gosh. I'm worried, Van, going back to the NAFTA deal, even with the deal that Trump made with Mexico and Canada. If Biden is made officially the president, I'm concerned that he's going to end up sending jobs to China because he's in China's hip pocket. Just wanted to make sure that, I think you understand that. And Doris says the Constitution says we get our rights from God, and yes, we do. Our inalienable rights from God. That's right, exactly. I'm sorry about this flashing in front of the screen all the time, people. But what happened is that's the way I can at least see with a print a little bit better than what I did. Jason goes on to say, I want to get it all in here. There we go. Exactly, Neil. 100% agree with you that our dear president. I'm getting to know more and more, and getting to know he has been through a crazy time. Oh boy, has he ever. He has a portrait of Andrew Jackson. Oh, yes, yes. I'm glad you brought that up. That's very good. Uh, in his office, the final battle between the people and the central banking system. Bingo. Oh, you're so right. I'm glad you brought that up, uh, Jason. I really am. Uh, Van gave me the www.youtube.com. Um, I can't make the last part out because it's running together, but I think I know what you mean. I will get to that, Van, and I really appreciate it. You've sent me a couple, like three of them. I definitely want them. Uh, and I hope, I feel like I've eaten this microphone 'cause I'm so close to it. I know that that doesn't look good, and I keep leaning, towards the screen because that's the right side of the screen has all your comments. I will get to those websites, Dan or Van, excuse me, and I do appreciate them. Um, Doris says my brother-in-law has kidney stones, and they're calling it COVID. Well, guess what? You're right, Doris. I understand because I've got a niece that has got got very sick because of I don't know what's some medicine or she's got some kidney issues going on or whatever, and they're saying it's COVID as well. So I understand. This is why they get paid more. The doctors do get paid kickbacks for diagnosing COVID. They get money from pharmaceuticals. They get Hospitals get paid extra if they're hospitalized and then treated as COVID. So it's all one big conglomerate that's trying to take control of the United States of America, and it's happening. All right, I'm going to tell you what, we're going to end the show because it's late. I didn't mean to go this late. I didn't know I'd have this many comments. I'm really so grateful and so thankful to all of you for being a part of this show because let me tell you something, without you, I couldn't do it. And because of the Thanksgiving this week, I'm not going to have a show until next Sunday. I am going to have a show next Sunday, and I'm going to continue with the election as it grows. So please, I hope people will share this video, and I hope and thank you, Doris, because I know you did, and for the rest of you that did, I will know and I want to thank you. If I don't thank everybody individually for being on the show, please don't be offended because sometimes that happens. I just get so much. I get so involved with things that I try to. I know I was doing it in the past as regular as possible. Somehow or another, last week I know I didn't. I did post it on my video that I thanked everybody because you did such a wonderful job, and I'm thanking you tonight. So in the meantime, we will have a show next Sunday. It may be about the election again, so don't go away. Don't let it get to you. Okay? Don't let this bother you. I want to get this is part of this is part of this is part of what this is all about. The future of our country depends on how people will talk about it, how people will spread the news, how people will share my video, not for me, but to get the information out that you even give. Like right now, Van Den says $30,000 for from the CDC. There you go. There you go. That's what these hospitals are getting. Van says, thank you very much. Hey, no, Dan, I thank you. I thank you, and I thank Doris. I thank uh, 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 Jason. I thank Don. I thank Lori, and whoever else that I've missed. All of you. I just hope that you will share this video, please, and have your friends share it. Not for my sake, but so that they can know what's really going on. I did not get through everything I wanted to get through. I know I went from the election to the COVID virus, but that's okay because it's your show. And then because the COVID is part of the election. There's no doubt about it. This has been planned for 4 years. The Democrats were not going to lose this election by chance. Believe that. Please believe that. Doris, thank you very much. You're a very faithful viewer and participant, and the rest of you, please come back. Van, I welcome you. This is the first show, I believe, if I in my memory that I can recall that you've been on, and I hope you return. I hope you'll come back to our next show. Your comments were great. Doris, everybody's comments were fantastic. And like I said, you helped me make this show. In the meantime, please try to have a happy Thanksgiving. If nothing else, if you can't get together with your family, do yourself a favor and get on Skype or some kind of way that you can get the families together on camera. Because I'm going to tell you something. That's a connection anyway. Even if you don't go to their homes, that is a connection. So please do try to do that if you can. If nothing else, call them, talk to them, whatever. Uh, Van says, God bless America and President Trump. Amen to that, Van. Thank you for that. Because God, we have to. We have to thank God that we have this country, and we have to pray to God that we keep this country. Van, I really appreciate your participation. I truly do. And Doris, everybody have a safe, happy Thanksgiving. Try to make it as happy as you can, even though with the virus and you can't go anywhere. The bottom line is this. If you've still got your health, be grateful. Try to make contact with your family through video conference type of call. I know that I don't remember who it is letting them people do it for free. I don't remember if it's Skype. I don't remember who it is, but it doesn't matter. Try to do that if you can, because that helps keep contact. In the meantime, God bless all of you. God bless America. Let's pray for the best. And in the meantime, next week, we'll probably be talking about the election. I hope you return. Good night, everybody. God bless. Have a good evening, or a good night's sleep, because it's late for both everybody. We'll talk to you next week, God willing. Good night.